Welcome to Community Voices with your host, Terrence Lachey. This radio roundtable features community, business, and religious leaders that discuss current events and topics that impact our urban community. If you would like to be a guest or if you have a suggested topic, contact the station today at 616-259-7342. Now, into the program.
Well, good midday. This is Terrence Lachey, and you are tuned into another edition of Community Voices here on 91.9 FM, The People's Choice, WDBW. I'm privileged to have another opportunity to talk to someone who's helping to serve our community, our listening audience, and the even larger constituency of the West Michigan area. I've got Greg Meyer, who is the UMHW West Chief Community Officer. And I think that's the correct title?
It is.
All right. Welcome, Greg. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about what you do, and then we, of course, are always partnering with U of M Health, U of M Health West. I remember the name change. I had Metro in the last time I talked to Dr. Rayanne Booker, and she was like, no, Metro, just U of M Health.
We dropped the Metro.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what you do. I know that we've got some talking points as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the area of purchasing as well as supplier and the whole diversity management piece. So give me the long and short of it, and then we'll get deeper into the conversation.
Well, I guess the short of it is there's a hodgepodge of things that fall under me, primarily the foundation, raising money to support the hospital, DEI, and there's an interesting story about how that sort of evolved over the years. Volunteer services, all of our community sponsorships flow through me as well.
Okay.
Our health and wellness programs, and even the gift shop.
Really?
Yeah.
All things retail, right?
Yeah, we made a profit this year, so we're happy with that. We didn't lose money on the gift shop.
So I didn't realize that your position was more fiduciary or financial than it was community-based. Tell me about the difference there, because it seems like it's an overlap.
Well, there is an overlap, but it all serves the same in terms of when we raise money through the foundation, it's to support specific programs within the hospital.
I see.
So we're not raising money to go out into the community. We're raising money for, say, our Open Heart program, where we had to renovate an OR that cost $10 million. So
that's a lot of gift shop.
That's the foundation. That's not the gift shop.
Okay, I get
it. Actually, gift shops are interesting. People don't realize this, but at a hospital, about 80 to 85% of the business is your own employees.
Wow.
When they just want to take a break and go escape and go buy a pack of gum, or
that's true.
Or they forgot a birthday card for somebody.
Yeah.
They can go there and buy that gift. You know. So I didn't know that when I started, but I do now.
Well, we'll talk about how it all intermingles for those who might be just tuning in, or those who are wondering what are we talking about. I'm Terrence Lachey. This is Community Voices on 91.9 FM, The People's Choice. I'm talking to Greg Meyer about diversity, equity, inclusion, U of M Health West. He's the Chief Community Officer in all things gift shops. Right?
Yes.
Well, let's dig a little bit deeper. I know that you espouse a value or a common statement with the hospital to reinforce the commitment of diversity and equity. Talk a little bit about that and how you play a significant role in that, how it impacts our community.
Well, I think, going back to just trying to do the right thing. When I came on board, one of my first meetings was with the health equity group. It was a committee, but there was no person leading it, and they hammered me. They said, the hospital's been promising us to hire somebody to actually do this work. And I went back to our CEO and I said, they have a good point. And I had an open FTE in the foundation that I said, they don't need that position, but we can use that money to invest in someone to head up our DEI program. I worked with the University of Michigan because they were farther ahead of us, obviously, at that point, and got some great advice from Dr. Brown, who heads that up for their medical division. And he said, you're going to find a lot of people who have passion, but you got to find somebody that has the passion and the technical knowledge to how to implement this.
Sure. Well, just for our basic listener who wonders what these letters are, DEI, equity and inclusion, you said it's pretty much doing the right thing. It's leveling the playing field for minority businesses, women-owned businesses, or disadvantaged businesses, or businesses who have been underserved or underrepresented, to be able to do business to business. But employment plays a part in this process, as well as providing services to those protected communities.
It does, and we just implemented a program using an outside vendor, Vizient, so that we can track all of our vendors coming through.
Okay.
You can't make changes without data. You have to see where you're at, what you're doing now. Are you reaching the audience that you want to reach in terms of creating that diverse supplier or diverse employee funnel? So that allows us to get that baseline to know, are we making improvements? Are we getting more minority businesses applying for the work, applying for our business?
We'll talk a little bit about those work opportunities. I guess it's everything from construction to subcontracting various services that the hospital buys.
It's everything, and I should know the number of vendors we have, but it's over 1,000 different vendors. When you look at all the different components, whether it's lawn care, different staffing, all of these things. We buy so much as a system. I think you'll see now that we've partnered with Sparrow Health in Lansing.
Yeah.
They're going to be incorporating those same principles. We actually, even though we were late starting the DEI department, we were small enough to implement faster than U of M. So we're now ahead of them in terms of supplier diversity and how we can look at that data and make adjustments so that we are encouraging more participation.
Well, let's boast a little. You mentioned earlier off air that there were some awards coming your way as a result of the programs in diversity, equity, and inclusion for specifically purchasing, contracting, and doing business with those populations of people that we've mentioned.
Well, with Talent 2025 here in Grand Rapids, they do an annual assessment. We came out very positive in that. I think the regional average, this is not just hospitals, this is all businesses that participate. We were like a 4.3 where the average was 3.7. I mean, we showed up very well. On a national level, our ERGs, which is our employee resource groups that have a specific interest or grouping. Our Macabilia group, which represents our African American group there, they were just recognized as one of the top ERGs in the nation.
Wow.
In addition to that, our steering committee for diversity, equity, and inclusion within the hospital was recognized as one of the top 10 in the country. Just for the work that they're doing and the way they go about it. And I really have to credit Dr. Booker on her leadership in all of this. I mean,
she's a great person.
Oh my gosh, I just pat myself on the back and go, boy, did I find a good person.
I think she'd be good anywhere she goes. I've kind of followed her career over the years, and she brings honesty and integrity to the role. And then she also has a great reputation. So people listen to what she has to say. And
she's very quiet, but she's very strong in what she says.
Absolutely. So there's honor on her life. Think about this conversation and how it translates from a larger perspective. There's a big dialogue going on about diversity, equity, inclusion, the whole concept and idea of leveling the playing field or allowing people opportunities that weren't made available before in the past. Talk, from a really grassroots level, talk about how the U of M Health West is committed to making that happen in West Michigan and the greater Grand Rapids area.
I think it comes down to just being fair, number one, but I think we want to reflect our community. And our community is made up of a whole lot of different folks. And it just creating that opportunity for everybody, but it just comes back to fairness. And not only fairness, I think I'd be lying if I didn't say there was an economic reason for doing this too.
Right.
Because
I appreciate your honesty.
No, our demographics are changing.
Yeah.
And it's like we need to reflect our community because that's who we serve. Mm-hmm. And if you walk in our door and you don't see anybody that looks or talks your language,
Yeah.
you're at a disadvantage. You may go somewhere else.
Or even in healthcare specifically, people who look like us.
Yes.
They say birds of a feather flock. Well, people are comfortable around people that look like them or can relate to them culturally, socially, in a lot of different ways. And I think that if any place, the hospital, of course, in the church community, are places where people should feel comfortable.
Absolutely. And, the challenge is finding people in every level of your hospital system, every level of your corporation that can show that, sort of reflect that community.
Yeah.
And I think there's challenges in healthcare, and certain segments don't have a lot of doctors
Sure.
representing them yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're starting to see the change, and that change really starts in the school systems.
Yeah.
Providing those science classes, directing kids, showing them that there's opportunities. You don't have to be a doctor to work in healthcare. There's all kinds of things you can do.
Well, I understand healthcare is one of the largest employment opportunities or windows of employment in the nation right now. There's another large organization that is a number one employer in this area. But U of M West employs quite a few people, and the commitment is to minorities, women.
Yes,
Yeah.
and any underserved population. One of the great programs that we just started this year, it's in partnership with the Grand Rapids Community College,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a nursing program so that we identify students after their first semester that are going into nursing. We provide scholarships to them. We pay for the rest of their schooling at the community college. In return, they have to commit to us for 2 years. But the community college has a very diverse population.
Right.
And all of a sudden now we've built this pipeline so that not only do we help pay for their education, they get trained when they do their clinicals at our hospital. So when they graduate, they're already in our system.
Sure.
And working.
They're advanced in the employment process.
And then we promise them, if you come and work for us, we'll help you go on and get your bachelor's degree, whether it's at Davenport or Grand Valley, so that you can continue on. Now, we also ask them, if we do that, to stay a couple more years.
Yeah.
We figure once we get them there 4 or 5 years, they're never going to leave because we're a great place to work.
Yeah. Let me do a quick station identification. This is Greg Meyer I'm talking to. He's the Chief Community Officer at U of M Health West. And the topic of conversation is diversity, equity, inclusion in both purchasing, supply, as well as employment. And how do people make contact? Let's kind of put that out there right away, because there's folks listening that's trying to Google this right now. So how can people make contact if, let's say, they are a contractor and they want to start bidding on contracts or maybe get some business from the hospital or the health system?
Just going online to our website, you can find your resources there so that you can apply for businesses. But we also now are asking everyone to fill out, sort of a DEI, assessment.
Okay.
So that we want to know, even with our existing suppliers, are they doing things that reflect our values?
Okay.
So it goes beyond just recruiting new. Let's identify those suppliers who are working with us. What are they doing to help promote diversity in their supply chain?
Sure. So in other words, you're hoping that the people that you do business with also practice what you preach to.
That's the hope.
That's the hope. Well, that's continuity, and I think it's noble that an organization would, from the very top all the way through, espouse some values that says diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. And so it's a top value of an organization. How does it impact our community? I know people feel comfortable when they see people who look like them. So but in addition to that, how does it impact our community economically?
Well, number one, like the nursing program, it's an opportunity for students who may never have had the ability to pay for that college education to go on and become a professional in the healthcare industry. That's an easy one to look at. But when you look at the economic development of West Michigan, when you look at Talent 2025 and their projections of what our demographics are going to look like in 2035, 2040.
A lot more what we would have considered minority.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll no longer be the minority.
The word minority will
That's
become
right.
obsolete.
And it will. And so I think as these corporations, these smaller businesses develop and evolve, to be able to have an opportunity to get our business helps them grow.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at all the statistics of where real economic growth is going to come from in the next 10, 20 years, it's small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And those small businesses now are not going to be owned by just
The traditional white labels.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's going to be a diverse population of businesses here. And anything that we can do to help that it helps us.
Sure. It's good to know that U of M Health West is out in front of the game to make sure that we're putting the things in place, the programs in place, the nursing program with partnership with GRCC. But how is the diversity chain portal? How do people get? They go to the website.
Yep, go to the website and you can find the portal within our website. And if need be, people can always email me and I can direct them there. It's greg.meyer@umhwest.org.
greg.meyer@uhmwest.org.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple.
It is.
We've got a few more minutes to talk about this, and it sounds like you're passionate about it. I know off the air we were talking about how important it is to you. You came from University of Michigan, Ann Arbor.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about your journey to West Michigan.
Well, I was at the university for 8 years doing fundraising for them.
Okay.
West Michigan was my territory. I'm from Grand Rapids, so they threw me over here because they thought I knew the area.
Right. Go back to where you came from.
Well, yeah, and it was great. Unfortunately, my mother was getting on in years, and that challenge was, falling on my brother. I wanted to move back,
Mm-hmm.
and they really didn't have an opportunity, so I went to work for Aquinas College for 8 years, doing their development work, and had a great experience there. And then U of M had come in and sort of partnered with Metro Training, and I was lucky enough to be at the right place at the right time. Met our CEO, Dr. Hahn, right before he became the CEO.
Okay.
And we sort of hit it off in terms of he was asking questions about U of M because of this partnership and how you would need to interact on a fundraising level with them. And I was lucky enough to be brought in under him. And I have to say, and I'm not just saying this, but
Sure.
It's the best place I've ever worked in my life.
Wow.
I mean, people are nice to one another there. And I think it's reflected not only in the patients, but it's the employees. And you can have people like working there. It doesn't mean you always agree,
Yeah.
but you respect one another.
Sure.
And I hope, and I know that we're making every effort to make sure that we do that across the board.
Sure. Sounds like a great place to work. I've interviewed quite a few people, over the last couple of years as we partner with U of M West. Talk about some of the other partnerships, because your journey was you were in the right place at the right time, but now making the right connections is important. Some of the partnerships that
It is. Over the last few years, we partnered with Trinity Health on two major programs, our cancer network. So that collaboration is the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, which is one of the best cancer research institutions in the country.
yes,
With us, Trinity Health here in Grand Rapids, and Trinity Muskegon. So whatever care you think you could get in Ann Arbor, you can get here.
That's good news.
That's good news. Just recently, the University of Michigan and the West Michigan Cardiovascular Network, we began doing open heart at the hospital. And that's in collaboration with Trinity in Muskegon, Grand Rapids, and the University of Michigan. This was the first new open heart program to be started in the last 25 years.
Wow.
We were the only city in the country our size that only had one open heart option. Most have two or three. we were paying, and this goes to the economic impact, 20 to 25% higher for that type of treatment here than you were even in Southeast Michigan. That's coming down already.
Sure, I was going to say, why was that the case? Because there weren't any other options?
There's no other options.
So competition is even in healthcare, right?
Competition is not only good for what it means to the consumer in terms of pricing, but quality.
Sure.
People
Are accountable for better quality when they're competing.
Yes, they are. It's like you've got to step up your game. So we don't look at this as really competition, but it's an elevation of healthcare.
It's interesting because we're talking about healthcare, and most people, or at least my mind, immediately think healthcare, you go going to the doctor. But there's so much more. There's education, there's community outreach, there's preventative measures, the clinics and those types of things, rehabilitation services and all those things.
All of those things. And our partnerships, whether it's Exalta Health here over on Division Street that services primarily the Hispanic community. You have Catherine's, you have all these others that you have little links to, because it takes a community.
Absolutely.
And I think when you saw COVID, you saw the health disparities that were there.
Absolutely.
That, it's like it was a light being shown on the issue in a much greater fashion.
So it would do us better to have more partnerships and approachable entities and organizations, because COVID was not the first pandemic, and it probably won't be the last. Unfortunately,
but hopefully the next time we'll know how to handle it better.
Sure. We learn from our errors as well as our progress.
But we hope.
So during COVID, and we can talk about that since we're in the post-COVID era, during COVID, did you guys see an increase in the diversity opportunities, or was there a decrease?
No, increase.
Okay.
Because we were getting up within the community, especially when we were doing the vaccines.
Sure.
We were literally going out into those underserved communities, working with the churches and other entities to try to get people, because there was some hesitation about getting those vaccines. But, whether it was the Hispanic Center or whether it was, I'm blanking on the correct name of the women's group with the inner city churches.
Okay. Is it the Black Nurses Organization?
No, I want to say it's not First. It's the Wives of the Minister.
Oh, the Wives. The First Ladies Club.
Yes.
No. I'm laughing because my wife is part of that. She actually sat on that council with the Heart Association as well as.
That's it.
Yeah.
We partnered with the Heart Association for a number of years.
Michigan Heart Association.
Yeah. With that. So we had the network out there to sort of help get the message out.
Sure. So being present, I think, during crisis and then after crisis builds a certain level of trust in a community. Mm-hmm. And I do know that U of M, even though I'm a Spartan through and through, U of M West Health has been a stay in the community.
I think it goes back to the original founders of the hospital. It was their commitment to the community that led them to wanting to do something different, more patient-driven healthcare.
Yeah, and it was an underserved community.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we can wrap this up and talk a little bit more about it, or give people more opportunities to reach out. Ideally, what would you like to see come out of this conversation today?
Just for people to know that our doors are open to wanting to expand our reach in terms of suppliers as well as employees. We want people to apply for those jobs, those business opportunities. We welcome it and are trying to actively pursue them.
Sure. And so those business opportunities are vast and many. Everything from electrical suppliers to perhaps construction to linen services.
To nurses, to doctors, to analysts, to all kinds of lab technicians.
And that's the employment side. But then talking about the vendors.
Oh, the vendors. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many different things. Yeah. It's, all the way from landscape to, all the technical stuff that we would have to, bring into the hospital.
Sure.
Whether it's new software, whether it's, it's a litany of things.
Yeah. I think about, you mentioned, we were talking out there about gift shops. There's probably an opportunity there for a small business owner.
Yep. You come in, we do a lot. One of our minority suppliers is Green Gifts, which is a female-owned business,
Okay.
and they actually manage the gift shop for us.
Oh, really?
So they're
you've
always
contracted that service.
and so they always look for Michigan-based minority, especially if they're environmentally good, to provide us products that go into that gift shop.
Yeah, I was going to mention that one because, maybe there's somebody in the listening audience that has a craft or jewelry or retail products, maybe gift cards, greeting cards, all kinds of things that could possibly benefit the populations that the hospital serves.
We look at all of those. Now, oftentimes, again, I put my retail hat on because
Sure.
I remember doing this in a life past. We can't take in huge amounts of inventory.
Correct.
So it's small. So don't expect this big thing.
It is a big purchase, right?
What we do is because I hammered on them at the start. I said, okay, let's manage our inventory better, because every time I have to sell this below what we paid for it,
Yeah.
I'm losing money.
Exactly.
So we do a lot of reorders for the things that work well.
Well, relationship, and I think reorders. I always tell people that I've done business with or clients, the best business is repeat business.
Exactly.
The best kind is the kind that's relation driven.
Yeah.
Through relationship. Well, in closing, give the listening audience more information about contacting you for the purchasing supplier chain as well as the employment opportunities.
Really go online. All the information is online, umhwest.org, and you should be able to navigate to all the places that you need to get to.
Greg Meyer, it's been great talking to you. This has been an enlightening conversation where people can take advantage of opportunities that are becoming more vast and more wide here in the West Michigan area. With U of M Health West being a partner here at the station, say thanks for continuing to make yourself known in the community here.
Well, thanks for what you do within the community. They need the voice.
I love it. It's a great volunteer opportunity, and I enjoy talking to people and learning more and more about what's available.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for being here. Listen, thank you for tuning in to another edition of Community Voices with Terrence Lachey. I was talking to Greg Meyer at U of M Health West. And for more information, you can check out our website so that you can get connected to the resources that are available here in our community around the West Michigan area. So thanks for tuning in to 91.9 FM, The People's Choice.
You've been listening to Community Voices with your host, Terrence Lachey. Community Voices can be heard every Friday at 12 noon. This radio roundtable features community, business, and religious leaders that discuss current events and topics that impact our urban community. If you would like to be a guest, or if you have a suggested topic, contact the station today at 616-259-7342. Until next week, let your voice be heard in the community.